right, guys, welcome to this exciting episode. I have a feeling you're going to walk away from this one feeling uplifted. My fingers are crossed. So welcome. I want you guys to meet Karla. Wow, Karla, how to put you into words. So you're a founder, a fintech founder. You're a visionary. I think you're an advisor as well. And you are someone who believes in community, social impact. I don't know. You're on the board for Philly 250. I had to Google you after I met you because I was like, oh my God, who is this woman?
Connects so many different platforms between business, finance, web, tech, social impact, community.
Yeah.
Sort of the.
Also, you're so proud. You're a Philadelphian. You're so proud to be. So let's start out, Karla, with how we met. How did we connect?
Oh, God.
Why did we meet when we did?
My goodness. You know, this is a fun moment because you are thinking about, for me, I just recently gone through a transition in my relationship and everything. And I remember the opportunity that we were having with respect to Summit and who's a Philadelphian in the Summit community. And it was one of these moments where just even over our WhatsApp exchange, it was this, okay, who's this energy? There's a lot going on here. And I'm
sorry, why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because it's the thread in every one of these, and I love it. It's always Michal's energy, and it's like it's so infectious, and it just
you can feel it.
You can
right?
feel it even over a text. Our relationship was entirely over text initially, so what you're describing, I'm giggling just because
it resonates. You resonate with it.
I am like, that's exactly correct.
Yeah.
Yes,
and she has that way, and so we met first on Zoom.
Yeah,
and I was like
come through the screen.
Oh my God. And it was one of those things too where you're just like, I'm part of a community that I've been for about 13, 14, 15 years, right? And when you meet other people that are part of the community, you can feel that same string.
Yeah, there's a thread.
Connection. Yeah. There's a thread, right? And so with you, it was very clear. I was like, oh my God, just a younger version, but oh my God, I have to get to know you. Like I really want, and the fact that you're in Philly,
hello,
was a wrap. So that's how we met.
So, I know we get tired of Zoom. We're like, oh, I love face-to-face and people don't do virtual dates anymore. But basically Karla posted to a WhatsApp thread and posted an event she was running. And I was like, wait a minute, there's a Summit person in Philly. Who are you? And I can't come, but I want to meet you. And we were like, okay, well, let's hop on Zoom. And we hopped on Zoom and it was just, you could feel energy. On Zoom. I felt your energy, and what I remember is I was talking about going to Summit and who I want to be there and stuff like that, and you helped me shape my language, envisioning that I was there, and I was like, okay, this woman understands magic and manifestation. I like this recipe. I like being a witch. So
it's so funny how even that word, right? Even that word. It's hilarious because a lot of people, I think, in this generation are kind of really becoming way more open to different languages that were traditionally
considered taboo.
Yeah. Well, today, obviously, probably a little bit less taboo, but yes. Right. And so when you think about how you just sort of said that, I'm thinking, God, that's been Summit all along, right? Like our community Summit series that we met in, we were always about having the kind of wording around manifestation, right? And we never called it witchery, but in many ways, I guess we're just embracing all of our indigeneity, if you will, is rising, right?
Say more.
So one of the things that I think is powerful, especially in the context of the political divide that we're seeing within our country, people are exhausted. They're really exhausted. And I think a lot of folks, some people are super happy, right? So you've got extremes. And I think in that extreme, there's opportunity to kind of manifest the life that we really want to see. And some folks seem to be going back to that village, that tribe, that community is really truly currency. But this to me is something that from an indigenous perspective, and by the way, when I say that, please think of all cultures,
Of course,
because
yeah.
all cultures have
Originated somewhere. Yeah.
originated somewhere within that village construct, right? And so I think many of us in this generation, right, are saying, heck yeah, that's what we want. We want that back. So I say often that indigeneity is rising again because we're so open to having community be truly the currency.
Whoa. What mind blowing. Do you want to say something or?
No,
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
Follow.
okay, just some words you're using, village. And, you know, especially like in raising kids, people are like, oh, you need a village. I need my village. Can you talk to me a little bit about what a village means and what does it mean to be a villager?
Oh gosh. So Susan, Eileen, Mom, Aunt Brenda, my godmother Cheryl, literally at Schoolhouse Lane in Wayne, we had our village. So me and Craig and Maisha and all the little ones and Max and Jesse, we all would meet Saturday morning and eat the same breakfast. And I just remember at Fairfax Friends in Philadelphia here in Germantown, I saw several moms. Like I feel like I had a whole bunch of moms just running in and out of the apartment. And it was like a beautiful penthouse kind of level apartment. So the kids, we had our toy room and we just did life together, right? The dads were all together, the moms were all together. And it was this moment of, wow, I never had matzo pancakes. I think it was matzo ball pancakes or something like that, right? I had matzo ball soup and I had all these things at like infant to 4 or 5. I just remember having this being cared for by several different people, right? I had my parents, but I also had this moment. And so that was my initiation into village. And then of course I'd go to West Philly with 58th and Master and be with my family, and they were cooking in the morning and breakfast. That was my other village. So, and then I would go to Huntington Valley, where when my parents were divorced, my bonus mom, Eileen, was Tim, Becky, and Linda. Then I had my brothers and sisters in Huntington Valley.
Do you hear that language, bonus mom?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
You have a way. You have a way with words, my lord. Like,
Yeah.
they're just
So that's
just
my
such,
village.
It's just
yeah.
such positive, the words that you use. It just, it makes me want to like be wrapped in your arms. You know what I mean? Like
Part of the family. Yeah. You want to be
but
part of that family.
linguistically, the way that you speak is creating a village. You know, like there's like a lot of positivity in your words.
Yeah, it really became such a huge part of, and even when I went to Germantown Academy, right, out in Fort Washington, because our class size was so small, we got to know the parents and everything. So I will say that it sort of absolutely carbon copied my footprints in my life.
Through life. Yeah.
Right, in terms of what I love and what I'm drawn to, which is also reflective in the technology I built.
You want to get there? Or do you want to, you have a
Well,
question?
I actually had a question also about community. You had mentioned sort of the political climate, but I also wanted to ask if you've noticed anything sort of post the COVID world, you know, and I think one of the maybe potential small benefits of it is that during the COVID time, there was a lot of potting and a lot of people relying on their community differently than they had prior. You know, a lot of things were stripped down. People weren't necessarily as hustling to work and the commute was shut down. And there was a lot more focus on, you know, being in your network at home and building your immediate community and your pod to rely on. And I think it also was an opportunity to strip down the things that we weren't necessarily comfortable talking about,
Totally.
right? We had to ask for help. We had to talk about the things that were
Totally.
happening in our home because we didn't have the typical resources, or you had to call your neighbor because there was no grocery store, or, you know, those types of things. And so I'm sort of wondering if you've noticed sort of a positive, sort of more route towards that community-based environment post-COVID, sort of as a positive twist from the pandemic.
Well, and that's why I have to look at life. If I'm going to focus on something negative, guess what I'm going to get?
You're going to get the positive
Right?
from it, yeah.
Well, or I'm going to, if I focus on negative, I'm going to get more of
Or,
that.
well, I meant you. I meant
Right.
You meant what are you going to get from it?
Oh,
but I
totally.
I get your
Exactly.
point. If
So-
whoever the person is focusing on the negative is going to get the negative. Yeah.
Right. And so when you start breaking that down the way that you just did, you're absolutely right. I said, oh, celebration time, come on. Like it's on and popping, right? We're breaking the back, right, of just sort of the direction that we were going in.
Correct. It
Which
was a
is
shutdown.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
And now everything is paused.
Right.
And so in that pause moment, what you have the opportunity to see birthed is sort of what's new priorities, new values.
New structure.
Absolutely.
Right. New habits.
Absolutely.
New resources. New community to build. Yeah.
And really that creative moment that can come from us deciding to focus on something positive. And that's a fundamental thing
Choice.
because
It's a
every
choice,
single
too.
second of every single day, your path is outlined based off of your thought. Something that small. So for me in that moment, I was dealing with several things. I was dealing with having to come back because of a family event, having to put my business on pause, meeting this absolutely beautiful soul. His name is Leonzo Vargas, who's creating this global village cipher in Philadelphia of people whose lives practically he's saving in the middle of COVID because he used to hold space for people to dance and express themselves and not hold back.
Hi, Leonzo.
Yeah. We lost
Being a
so
shot.
much of those things, right? We
Yeah.
needed the new platforms to be created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that moment happened right in
People
Philadelphia.
rose to those occasions or they didn't. Yeah.
There you go. And so at that point, I think what was so powerful is, yes, I do believe a new currency was
That's
formed.
sort of what I was
And
asking.
when I say currency, I'm not even just talking about what we intuitively think of with
course.
respect to money, but there was a current shift.
Emotional exchange, resource
Absolutely.
exchange, time exchange.
You got it. And being able to think that my priority of just running out and being in a 9 to 5 has shifted drastically. And that I think was a powerful moment.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's tough because I think in the natural world, right, people are so discouraged in their own mind from breaking the norm. But what COVID almost gave us was everybody broke the norm. Everybody was given sort of the opportunity, if you will. And so you had that chance to reform those communities or find those resources and sort of you got out of the 9 to 5 and you had to make something out of it. you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kindness is currency, right?
Kindness is definitely
Interesting.
currency. Oh my gosh. And you guys, Heart Math Institute, Google it if you have not checked it out. Because right now, if there was sort of not thermometer, but sort of a frequency gauge, it's a technology Heart Math Institute has created, and it measures coherence. That means right now, and you obviously in the medical field, right, know this, that our heart gives out a certain signal. It's the organ that gives out the largest signal in terms of
electrical
length.
It has
So we're talking up to 10 feet. So that in of itself shifted, right? And when I think about what happened with the Eagles and our championship win, and that coherence was measured, that's sort of where I am. That's my North Star. I want us to get to that as a society. And I do think it means bringing that currency back into community.
Yeah. So like right now, I'm just thinking about how every day I'm hearing about a lot of breakups, a lot of things happening politically, and a lot of layoffs.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone right now who was laid off, or someone who's married to someone who was laid off, or someone who cares about someone who was laid off? What would you say to them?
Start your own gig economy.
Gig
Literally.
economy. Say more. Gig
Sure.
economy.
Yeah, explain
So-
a little more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say immediately start your own social gig network. Be empowered to get everybody that you know to literally list their skills, right? We obviously built a social gig network with Live Ying. That's our platform. We give you the URL, you send it to everybody, they upload their skills. You have your own Fiverr, your own Uber, your own Upwork, your own Instacart, your own Uber. I could go on and on.
Yeah.
You now have a way of putting out tasks, getting paid for it. And that type of moment that if I just got laid off, oh, wait, I'm not just putting resumes out there. I'm starting my own economy.
Yeah. What's on your list of? I know you have like a consulting hour. I feel like you had
Yeah,
grocery
yeah.
shopping. What's on your list on Ying?
So a lot of strategic consulting, right? I definitely
I have
you
used
saw
those.
the grocery
I
shopping
use
because
those
if I'm
tokens
back
of
here,
yours. I definitely
right?
use one of those. Yeah.
Well, we're going on the blockchain. So we're in this moment where the next
Hmm.
30, 60 days, AI will be embedded,
Hmm.
will go on the blockchain. So it won't be just that you're owning,
Hmm.
or earning a token. That's actually going to have its value be increased
That's great.
because of the way that the blockchain works. And that's a whole nother podcast. But the bottom line is we do want you to have fiat currency. So you're going to be earning cash so that you can pay your rent, but you're also in a position to earn what we call cryptocurrency. And a lot of people have their misnomer about it only because of the way that it's sort of been positioned in the media. It has the goods and the bads, but I've been in it so long that I'm one that's like right in Washington, D.C., making
Yeah.
sure that the standards are high.
Yeah. Karla ran for VP talking about this stuff. I just want to pause for a second, and I want to just talk about what it's like to be someone in society not working and thinking about currency. And I'm curious about like what's going on in your mind. Like, what would you list of like, well, here's all the things that I can do and that I can offer, even if I'm not still an ER physician and I'm so much more than, you know what I mean?
Well, that's challenging for me to
Oh,
personally.
I can do it for you.
Yeah.
I could do it for you.
I don't know if I can.
I mean, Amira is actually really crafty. She's really good at putting
Oh,
gifts together. I
okay.
didn't know that
Yeah.
about her until I learned about her. And she's also really helpful with like listening to a story and helping someone identify their own boundary in that story.
Oh, wow.
I would have a boundary session just with you. Just like, here's the story and what boundary should I put up and how do I say it and how do I execute it, you know?
Okay.
Um,
It's like marketable skills. I was like, I don't know. I was like,
that is
Well, but when you're working
marketable.
with your hands,
yeah.
you're doing something with your hands. There's a whole lesson behind being able to do work with your hands.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, very, very crafty. I mean, those are hobbies, I would say, but photography, jewelry making.
Oh, yeah,
pottery,
photography.
Yeah. Sculpting. It comes from my parent. My dad's a painter, a sculptor, a cinematographer.
Oh, my
director.
God.
Oh, wait, you also make cakes.
I bake, decorate. Yeah.
Okay, so
everything.
I
That's
want
why I was like,
to
I'm
do
not sure I can answer the
$1
question.
million.
doing a whole gig with you.
It'd be so much
The
fun.
baking piece.
Yeah,
Yes, totally.
I love to bake. I
Yeah.
decorate
Oh, I'm gonna
cakes,
do one
and I
with
can
you.
get fancy
Sure.
with like
Yeah.
I love to use edibles, spray paints, and all sorts of stuff. From you can make your own organic dyes from beets and all sorts of fun stuff with
Wow.
with
Oh, my
baking.
God.
The best secret ingredient in a
You guys
chocolate
need
cake is beets, actually,
bake-
for moistness.
Caviar. Like there's
Oh,
there
you can make it from
Yeah.
a little.
that thing
it's
is
like a
insane.
gelatin,
Have
yeah.
you seen it?
No.
Mhm.
Oh, I was so
There's
once.
so
I mean,
many-
I love caviar, period. But I also like what do you call it? Ikora.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
the
so,
fish eggs.
I mean, I was always just impressed in the first place, just being a woman in finance, but baking is science, so a woman in STEM, and so it's all science, it's all math essentially. If to bake, it's all measurements and science. And when you were talking about the caviar, using different materials and different temperatures or mixing different mediums can give you all sorts of different textures and ways to reproduce things that can be done in edible ways.
I just think for me, what's going on in my mind is just like, we think of like, traditional 9 to 5 and money, but there's so much more to like a human being and what they offer this world
And
than
now
their
the
job.
platforms are
Yeah.
there, right? With tech and apps and ways that you can at least market or identify a way to get yourself out there.
Mhm.
Because in some regards, some of these skills are so specific, if you will, right? Like the supply demand isn't, if we're talking economy, right? The supply demand isn't necessarily in your favor unless you can reach your audience,
Right.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So you need a platform for some of these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with my colleague Payu Harris, who created the first indigenous native digital currency called Maza Sovereign.
Oh, cool.
And what's powerful about that was about 13 years ago, and he relaunched on the blockchain. And he had put out to the reservation asking questions as Cheyenne Nation up in Lame Deer, Montana. What jobs and gigs would folks be interested in working, right? And what if we had our own gig economy that we started up, because one of our pilots will be on the Cheyenne Nation. And they have about 444,000 acres in Montana. And what's beautiful, some reservations are going through challenging times, but there are tribal members that are so informed, so freaking brilliant, underestimated in many ways. And they now, like Payu, will have the opportunity to have a gig economy that we deploy. So when you think about those special skills like beating and making fried dough and or fried bread and all these really cool things that are very unique, right, to the tribal members, that's where we, right, get to kind of partake in people's special superpowers, because this is what we don't, you're right, get to talk about. And now I think we are going to start to appreciate, as people are, you call them layoff, but maybe it's a layup, right? Maybe it's an opportunity,
That's
right?
what I was saying. It's an opportunity.
Karla, to reposition how we want to do life and living.
Well,
right?
and let's also say, right, like a lot of people got on their work conveyor belt, however many years, however many decades ago. The tools and resources and what's available now, if you were to be in that position, to your point, could be a layup in that regard. You could totally harness yourself and reach a different audience than what you could potentially have done 20 years ago.
There you go. Yeah. And by the way, we don't have to just stay in our local area.
Of course, yeah.
We can go to India
Yep.
and meet people in Mumbai.
And if not
We could go to
physically,
Nigeria.
Zoom
Go to-
now, right?
all
Post-COVID,
over.
these things have developed in
Yes.
a way
It's a
that we
whole new
didn't
workforce.
have
Yeah.
pre-Zoom. Another post-Zoom positive, outcome is that all of those forms got developed so highly and so quickly,
Yeah.
right? Because schools and doctors' appointments and courts couldn't shut down, so Zoom had to be fixed and made work, and meeting rooms, and so can't get there physically. You can get there in any other way.
What was the pandemic like for you? Was your headspace?
Oh, gosh.
Were you in the
Yeah.
state of opportunity, or did you feel that
I'm always, I
like
don't know, don't
everybody
ask
else?
me why, but I think it's also my father. My father was very
I want to ask you why.
Marine. He was a Marine. He was a former cop here in Philly. Like he faced so many atrocities, and for some way, he stayed super positive. My mom, same way. I would say my dad probably more so. And I think at the end of the day, for a pandemic,
father.
totally. In some ways not, right? But one of the things that the pandemic did for me was value, tribe and village. And we launched with the Knight Foundation here in Philly, and online, about 68 entrepreneurs, creatives, a 6-week program where I took everyone through sort of the art of Philadelphia in many ways. And when I say the art, it was more of the civic perspective, but a lot of the friendships are still there, right? So the pandemic for me will always be one of those lifetime transitions, what it brought me back, right, to how much I love this city, how much I love Philly. We celebrated when I came back from Los Angeles, who my great, 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 great grandfather is, which is Vice President Burr, who started Manhattan Bank and started, the JP Morgan eventually, came from Manhattan Bank. But all these moments I had a chance to sort of really be open and connected to. So the pandemic was absolutely a layup for me, because that time, Brock Pierce, who's a dear friend of mine, right, that is also part of Summit Series, he said, Karla, Ben Bendel, they were out in California at the time, have been thinking this particular election is getting really toxic. This was in 2020. Would you help out in some way? Because we know you're an independent. You're always sort of really politically in the middle.
Walk the line.
Yeah, because I can't, I honestly, God bless each party.
There's
We
positives and
grew up with
negatives
the
on
indigenous
both sides.
principles, but the idea was not taking anyone down. We're only going to be building, right? And solutions. And Brock is very much the same mentality. So he said, would you help me? And I was like, of course, of course. He's like, but would you run with me as the vice president, on the ticket? I was like, now I know you've just lost your mind. What? Because I'm not thinking I'm going to be running for the vice presidency of the United States. It's a very serious position. You don't take that lightly. But thank God I came from military and law enforcement, and my mom ran 2 hospitals. So I was used to the fact that civic life is absolutely a life that is in my DNA. So at that moment, I said yes. And it was so funny how I just kind of got reconnected with my Burr family. And I said, all right, well, let's do this. Did it, right? And we made the announcement, and it was a beautiful moment. It was 4 months, so there was not a real chance of winning, but there was a real chance of saying to the next generation, get out there, don't forget about our democracy. This can be something special if we say yes to that moment.
I guess as I'm listening to you talk, I'm just like, I'm thinking about how when my husband, met you, he was just like, you know who she reminds me of? And I was like, I know exactly who she reminds me of. And it's the woman who brought Manuel and I together, who's our super connector.
Actually, I kind of got that sense.
You know who Deeth. And it's like when you meet someone as special and as unique as you, and just like the power that you emanate, and just that you just embody love,
Thank you.
and you're just someone who like spreads love. And I know that everybody's out there looking to, they want love. And I know that that's hard. I know it's painful, and I know that dating apps suck, but like, man, just like, if you could just like embody love, or put yourself close to people who, embody love, like you're going to have love.
That's it. Love is everything, and we don't realize it, and we can even get scientific with it. Let's just
We're going to do
get scientific.
Very much so.
Right?
Hello, Amira.
And neurotransmitters and hormonals. Absolutely.
All day.
Yeah, what's going on with her? All these
What I was
neurotransmitters going on.
really going to say, though, is that I think also the connection that, I mean, I know Hudith, I've met her a few times, and I just got the opportunity to meet you, but the similarity there is like just even watching or behaviorally, there's a way about both of you that you see things, like just get the sense that you see and you take things in more than what is just obvious, right? So there's many layers in which we observe, right?
Right.
We can observe on physical, emotional, spiritual, lots of different levels. And I feel like whatever it is the two of them do, it's like that. They see things in so many different levels and can integrate that in a different way.
I don't know. It's just like I'm just imagining this village and this like grandmother with this like wisdom, this like love and this wisdom that's just like bringing people together.
This like seeing beyond kind of what's immediately there,
Yeah, and that's love.
The bigger,
right?
And that's love.
Because when you start to break it down, you understand there is a neurological impact on a biomedical perspective, right? From
absolutely.
biology. When I am emanating love, you can measure it. And once you have all the, wonderful
the electrodes,
wires and
you,
electrodes, you can start measuring it within your head as well. And that
can be quantified.
can impact another human being when you walk in the room. And so I'm constantly talk about boundaries, right? Protective of that space. That space to me allows for me to emanate love, right? Because I've also had to do a lot of work
to be in that space.
It's not like, oh my God, okay, everything's just going to be fantastic. That's like fake it until you freaking make it. Or you're in Philly, you don't do that.
Or you don't, of course not. Yeah. And we all have a tendency to point out the most negative thing in the room first, right? Just by nature.
Well, and then we have, like, as a city,
Philly nature.
we have the grit, right? But
That's
where's the grit come from, right? And this is
survival.
Thank you. Okay.
Right? It's a survival.
We are survival. It was so funny. My friend was like, how do you have, I always go back to the Eagles because there's only one team.
Only that team.
Ever
That's it.
in the world. There's
wherever you will go. Right.
Wherever, right? And so I was in LA. Phillies had won some game. This was years ago. I'm bawling, having this like emotional, they're like,
what? Yeah.
Carla.
But you don't get
it. They didn't get it.
Even if you're not into sports.
They did not get it. But it's a Philly thing. We've been through life. I've been through life. And so that healing comes from really, and I got to give my LA family shout out because I caught up with my heartbeat when I hit that ocean Pacific Coast Highway. That was my everything in terms of healing, right? I had to heal out west. So I did have to have a time away from my city to heal out west.
Wow.
And then I brought that healing back to Philly. And that's where I think many of us who are from a space that has gone through it, we do need to take that time. And sometimes we might not be able to afford to go out west or out east, wherever, but we do need to meditate, close our eyes, identify.
Ground.
I've got a crystal right in my bag.
You ground and
Of course she does. Amira, is it okay if I turn it on you for a second? I was just wondering, like, as you
try me.
listen to Karla and her talking about healing, like, can you talk to us a little bit about how you have found healing? Like, where do you...
Well, what I was reflecting on a little bit when you were talking was both, well, the positivity and sort of your outlook. It's an intention, right? It's an intentional choice. And what I mean by that is I even think about kind of the equivalent in where my hardships come from, which is either my health or being a parent. And in the moment, right, you can choose to reinforce in a positive way or a negative way. You can choose to, take, if you want behavior to change, right, you can choose to do things and kind of be in an attack or aggressive way, or you can choose to do it in a more gentle or a loving way. And it can maybe elicit the same potential outcome, but in a very different emotional progress, right? You might get the right initial response from your kid or initially, but it's certainly not going to build the structure and the emotion and sort of the growth that you want. And so what I was reflecting on is sort of the intention of that. So how she was saying she didn't just wake up happy and wake up able to do it. It's a practice skill. So, the next time I'm frustrated or the next time I'm throwing up for 3 days or the next time I'm frustrated because, my child processes differently and for whatever reason.
He wants a shout out, by the way.
My son Jassim, he dying to be mentioned, but he's the best in the world. And so is Raquel. Both of my boys are the best in the world. And it can be frustrating, but the point is that it's a moment to ground yourself and intentionally take a positive approach. And that isn't necessarily what's written into us. It isn't necessarily what, I think actually your amygdala tends to fire, right? And you tend to go into an impulsive or a very different emotional response. But you can be intentional. You can take a pause. You can breathe in that moment. And, to try to elicit that same outcome, just go a totally different way. And I think that I was internalizing as she was talking about sort of that intentional moment of positivity. And I want to separate that too, because I think there's a lot of toxic positivity in our culture. This assumption that it's easy, that like we should all just wake up and like be happy, right? Or like, even manifestation. Like I love the way you described it because I think that there's a lot of nonsense in that world too. Yeah. It's a thought that guides you through your day and it forms the steps that you take. It forms the connections that you make. It forms the habits that you build every day. It is not that you wake up, you think it, and there it is, right? I just think that there is so much in our culture that, especially in this political and post-COVID climate, we all look to this sort of like, let's immediately find it or fix it. But there's work. It's intention. It's a process.
Ooh.
Maybe that's my 1-minute summary.
Maybe.
That was a great
Hey, you already did it.
Yeah. It's great.
You already did it.
Yeah, that's an intention and a process. And I think our culture and especially in social media, there's so much toxic positivity, so much assumption that it's so easy to do. And I think that leaves us actually feeling empty, right? If you just put a false sense of it out there. It's something that you have to work for. You don't know, because I never owned it that way. I was always happy sitting in my own shit. Okay. And I mean that lovingly. Like I mean that to say, as an ER doctor, reality is the only thing I can work with, right? I can't do anything outside of what's real, right? So I need to work with facts. I need to work with resources that are tangible, not that are on the verge, right? Like it needs to be something that I can actually put into action. It needs to be actionable. So, when I came out of this process, my mentality was, it's not the worst day of my life, right? It was very very strategically compared to other things that were quantifiable.
And that you've seen.
That I've seen and lived through
Yep.
every single day. We had recently lost my sister-in-law to a very rare aggressive cancer, and it was horrible within 10 months. And when I was going through the process of, overnight losing every part of my function from breast line down, even as a physician, it was symmetric. I'm thinking, I have metastatic cancer. I have a mass in my spine. Like that was what, when I put me into an MRI machine, that is what I thought I had. And I was in my own ER being assessed by my own colleagues. And when they brought me out, no joke, and they had 12 people gather around me, God knows why, right? Like bad choice. And they start with, you have something very rare. And I'm like, oh God, right? Like terrified. And they said, it didn't even matter. It just wasn't cancer. And the next thing out of my mouth was this. But thumbs up and said, okay, cool. I said, okay, cool. Like, didn't matter to me because it wasn't the worst case scenario, right?
Right.
Like, there was so much opportunity that I saw as long as it wasn't the worst case scenario.
Right.
So I saw it for the truth. Like, I knew what was going on. I wasn't confabulating or romanticizing it, but I had seen so much of life's real truths that, this was doable.
I want to say that
hard, but
I want to say this about what you just said, because I think we have an opportunity to even look at the worst case scenario differently.
oh, certainly.
I don't even use the word death or dying anymore. I've really taken a lot of opportunity to connect with my indigenous side, right? And a lot of that has been one of the most beautiful gifts I've been given in this season of life, because we talk about going to the other side of the camp, right? We don't even talk about life ending. And I lost my cousin right here at Penn because of a senior driving and running over his body on the motorcycle. And so I had to go with my Uncle Wayne and make sure the night before the coffin and Reuben was okay, right? And so I'll never forget literally touching the casket and touching him and feeling a huge part of his arm missing. And so when I say that, and I know it's really a lot, he also, though, came to me through a clairvoyant that I worked through, right? And what was powerful in that moment was, because I do believe that we have a life that's everlasting, I'm choosing to use just sort of a repositioning, sort of structuring of people's, vibrancy here is still vibrancy someplace else, right? That we may not have connected with yet. Soon, I do think our entire society will evolve to the point where we are able to easily connect with our loved ones that have transitioned on to the other side of the camp. And so I say all that because we could do ourselves a really big favor in going back to some of those lessons that have been lost from an indigenous perspective. Again, I'm saying indigenous, and I want everyone to be thinking about your indigenous cultures, whoever you are. And part of that is the truth is some of that truth was taken out of our society. And so I really respect, I think it's Dias Muertas. It's the Day of the Dead.
Dias Muertas.
And what's beautiful about that is there is a belief that we're still all
and they
one.
Go visit them the one day, and
it'll do us good. It'll do us good in our society good to maybe challenge that framing of worst case, because I think there's some opportunity even for those going through that process to realize that there's always another way to frame, not to, and I'm not saying this because of that. It just came to my spirit right at that moment.
When I mentioned the worst case scenario.
Yeah, because I do think that we've been cultured, right, to think
believe,
a certain way, when the truth is that we had the truth in the beginning, it was just exited out. So how we sort of celebrate, even healing cancer, right?
There are many cultures that believe their ancestors in various, whether it be frequency or form.
So as we're talking about this, I am a little bit last night. One of my friends passed away. That was like a brother
Yeah.
to me.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, just last night. And so
Wow.
And young.
I guess I'm
Right.
trying to,
That could be
I don't know
him.
how to,
That could have been him coming through, because that is something that you hopefully can now
Yeah, and wasn't on the docket
understand.
for our conversation today
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
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 Right? Because he's still here. And that's where, again, not everyone, I'm not going to project this on you, but I just happen to also be connected.
Mhm.
Right? And he is still here. And even though it is going to be reality check, like it's still sad because you're still physically missing
Yeah.
being in that presence and energy. But now knowing that he's still here, you might be open to expressing your connection with him differently. Sometimes it's how we look at it. So when I embrace my father who transitioned, I'm able to start talking to him. I have a Marine coin I was given because I'm on the board of Blue Star Families. And so I had an opportunity by a Marine to give me a coin, a challenge coin. That's a huge moment. And it was almost like dad was right there. So it's those small ways that I think those that do transition to the other side have ways to communicate with us, and bet your bottom he's going to still be communicating with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also makes me think of village, and the way that village comes together
Yeah.
when someone transitions,
The other piece.
So right now, the whole village right now, I'm on a chat.
And you're
And we're
being
all
connected
sending-
to all these people you haven't talked to and haven't
From my
connected to
childhood.
from your childhood again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, death does that routinely. Yeah.
Right?
So I want to talk about something else about you, is that something that you changed for me is Karla and I also had a very Zoom relationship until we finally met. And because she doesn't live.
right.
Yeah.
Like such a notion to you, though, that you can maintain friendships
I could do it.
just by text. Like,
Yes.
like you build them from scratch. Like there's like, that way. It's just so
I could
interesting.
do it. Anybody could do it. But so recently we were going on an RV trip and we were like, well, what if we make Karla's house the first stop? And we went to Karla's, and Karla obviously is a being of love. We've already discussed that, but my children like immediately felt like really comfortable in her presence. And like Karla was observing my children, and she was looking at my 6-year-old Hannah. She was like, she's been here before.
Mhm.
She says, she's been here before. And I was like, whoa. I know a lot of people say old soul, but like the way that you describe that. And I was like, well, what about my other little one, Ellie? And you were like, nope, she's fresh.
Yeah, and that's
And just
fact.
the way that you could see their souls.
Yeah.
I mean, like as a mother, like it was so impactful for me, and
Right.
it just helped me understand my children's souls.
Oh, and they're so bright. I mean, they're just, it's,
They're little lights.
they're little lights, right?
Yeah.
Both are just little lights.
I think what's so powerful about us embracing the children, right, side of this, I was, my ex and I were at a vacation moment, right, in Maui, and we were going to my favorite beach, McKenna Beach. It's all black sand. And all of a sudden, because this is where I would walk when I'd go visit my father who retired in Maui, right? I'm now in the car, and Sid is in the car too. And then all of a sudden, he says at 7 years old, they know you're here. And I was like, excuse me? So we look at each other because obviously parenting at the time, you have to be mindful just to turn around and,
Right, of
and be like, oh my God.
Validate
you feel
certain-
today?" Yeah,
yeah.
you're just like going with it. And he just smiled in his own way, very confident, very sure of what he was saying. And it blew my mind. So same with Hannah, right? Like there's a
sense
God,
that
Mom.
she has.
Yeah,
She doesn't.
right.
I've told you that
And-
many times.
Absolutely.
Love that little soul.
And
She and I bond very, very, very
She's here to,
quickly.
like,
Yeah.
work
She's like my BFF. I know.
yeah.
When the two of you are around, you're the third wheel.
I mean, she is very much in control. And it's like,
You know.
oh my God, I've been here. All right, what's next?
No, really,
Because I
let's
need to
really
observe it all.
laugh.
You guys are
Just
really
take off.
special right now, right? Like this world right now, I need to come in quickly.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like Hannah and Rakim and Jassim and Ellie all in a room. Oh my goodness.
Man.
And the two, like they could talk just like us. They could run this podcast.
They really
could.
could.
See
Oh,
right
oh.
here and Hannah right here. And you would
And Ellie would be singing.
shocked. She would be entertaining,
She
and
would do it.
Rakim would be
She'd be
doing
in
the art
sequence.
in the background.
Yeah.
Yes. He'd be doing the theater direction. Actually, he wants to be a
Right.
graphic
So,
designer.
we should be paying more attention to children.
I think children give us a reflection.
Of where we are. Yeah.
And that's an important thing to honor
Yeah.
and really hold space for.
Well, and I think it is
Yeah.
beautiful if you
Yeah.
look at that generation now, and like to wrap up a little of what we've discussed, we've been through.
Oh, you want to do the
Well,
wrap-up?
no, just to give us
Okay.
the few minutes. I was just saying though that, the last 10 years have been really challenging, major hardships. And, look at the kids. And the nice thing is we've broken down some of the 10 years ago, stigmas and challenges and those barriers in the community. And we're seeing a more open and, I think, communicative and connected younger population.
Yeah.
They're more willing to have harder conversations. They're more
Yeah.
willing to speak their emotional truth.
And also, you're a really good mother.
Yeah.
Well, I just see it among a lot of kids. They're just, they're more willing to speak openly about what they're feeling. And I don't think that's necessarily true of the generations before.
No.
And they're mirrors of the parents who are
Now allowing
allowing
it
it
to happen. Right.
Yeah.
But it's because I think a lot of them it's been broken down. We've lived through the COVID years. We've lived through some of the harder political, anyway, I don't say we've lived through them. I don't want to make any challenges here, but I just think it's showing that we are we're evolving. I think at where we are now. We look at the younger generation and we're seeing just such a wider amount of openness.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to wrap up. Do you have just one piece of advice on like how to connect with yourself or how to connect others for the audience? And then Amira will take it home.
For me, and again, whatever belief system you have, I embrace it all in terms of how we get to the pathway that we're choosing to be on in this lifetime. But the one phrase that comes to me is be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. And what that one phrase does for me is creates the intentionality to hold space for that self, that moment, that quietness that we call meditation, could be prayer. That is one of the most core things you could do every single day, sometimes 4 or 5 times a day. And know that I am God. And know that I am God, to me, remember there is also a higher power that's holding you.
Well, Karla, you want to take it home?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll do a whole minute. But
Yeah, just take it
I have
home.
a couple of thoughts. Yeah, no, I think the take-home points today, right? So community is currency. I think that's the most beautiful part of this, that we're going to go through ups and downs individually. We're going to go through ups and downs as a community. And in that, you can find opportunities. You can find new perspectives. You can choose to see things from a different place and make opportunities for yourself. And I don't mean that in a toxic, positivity kind of way or an intangible way. I think that the resources out there that are open to you, whether by tech or development or just who lives next door in your community, they're all available to you now. So, harness it, take advantage of it, and create something new. Make a connection.
Yes.